I'm Mike AD, and welcome to the Delta League Podcast. Regular season, week 7. Now, we're gonna get started right away on Monday, where Washington is hosting Montreal and Salt Lake City. And in this one, Montreal wins it. Montreal 24, Washington 17, Salt Lake City 12. Maelstrom purveyor of bad luck, Lalo Celli, who's out with a fractured kneecap, a torn ACL, and a suspension, just lengthened the suspension when he tossed a towel at the official from the sidelines when he thought there was a missed call. As a result, that is a black card. Add that to his previous black card, and 3 more weeks have been added to his suspension. Now, civil strife hit Washington as River Melcher was found to be sleeping with the league MVP, Chevy Colela's wife. Just when the team seems to be putting itself on track, the train jumps the rails. Unbelievable. Now, in another great Montreal news, star player Stefan Greiss has publicly stated his desire to go to an expansion team. That is the 3rd player that expressed that desire. I have to be honest, if I was Greiss, I'd be looking for a fresh start from the toxic environment that he's been playing in. Now, last week, I told one of our mailbag listeners to hold on to that jersey. Knowing Delta League, they're definitely going to ship him out of town. Now, and SLC player, the Ratchet, Gilbert Ratchev, who's currently out of the lineup nursing a orbital fracture, said publicly he's been battling more than just an orbital fracture. He's playing hurt all the time. That's part of the Delta experience. The game is a crazy force of nature, and you never know when you could get dismembered after being ejected from a rolling vehicle. Savor these moments. For Washington, leading the way it was Sebastiano Guarnieri with 6 goals and Jimbo Grover with 9 blocks. For Montreal, it was Stefan Greiss, 13 goals, and Juke Buchanan with 11 blocks. And for Salt Lake City, jack shit for nobody. And in the end of this one, Montreal picks up the 4 points. Washington, 2 points. Salt Lake City, nothing again. Now, let's just move on to Boston on Wednesday night, where they'll be hosting Vancouver and Memphis. And in this one, Memphis wins it. Memphis 25, Vancouver 15, Boston 12. In this one, Memphis rookie Bianca Watson lost her cool on a close goal call, and she felt so strongly that she got onto the court, and that is the kind of verboten when you're a healthy scratch. So she's going to disappear until week 9. Now, Boston player rookie Hobo Mickelson came onto the court wearing a mohawk, and the crowd really didn't respond to it well. Comments online stated, "I wish I could trade the mohawk for a few more goals." Now, speaking of changes, Elon Putterson came out and said, "I'm leaving Judaism and becoming a Christian." He said, "Being a Jew is very hard these days, and it's not just what's going on in Gaza that makes me critical of my own people. I get criticisms and questions all the time about what side I'm on, or accusations about how I can justify this or that. My decision isn't about those issues. I have a good friend, and he took me to church, and I really liked it. There are millions of American Christians, and none of them have to answer questions as to why they accept Christ into their life. So I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm not going to answer any more questions about Judaism, Israel, or the war in Gaza. Thank you. For Boston, jack shit. For Vancouver, jack shit. For Memphis, it was Shep Forsberg with 6 goals. And in the end of this one, Memphis picks up the 4 points. Vancouver, 2 points. Boston, nothing. So, let's move on now to Saturday for the matinee game, where New York is hosting LA and Chicago. And in this one, Chicago opens up the can of whoop-ass. Chicago, 56. Los Angeles, 31. New York, 23. Now, Chicago player Georgios Stokidis came to the court wearing glasses. That's definitely a new look for him, and they seem to work because he scored 12 goals. Whatever works, go for the Wild Thing look. If it doesn't work long run on the court, you may need the glasses, just in case you get another DUI, which will prevent you from smashing into somebody else. Now, last week, Captain Eric Rob Nicholson of LA tore his MCL and ended his season prematurely. This week, Assistant Captain DeFreddy Endler tore his groin. He'll be out 6 weeks. That's 5 players out already. They should rename this team the Saints so they won't be going through hell. Now, LA had a little breakdown in composure as players Ben Breitbart and Bobby Sheffitz got yellow carded in this one. Sheffitz better watch out because he's at 3 yellow cards already. 1 more and he's gone for a mandatory 1-game suspension. Now, LA team chemistry seems to be taking a massive hit as Jerome Gelbert was found to be having an affair with Frank Viano's wife. Viano is home nursing a broken collarbone, so there must have been a lot of sneaking around. Just another bunch of players are going to be on the list of eligible bachelors. Now, there's a coalition of Fire Demons fans who saw that LA was changing their colors, so next year they started their own campaign to change the team's colors too. So they say they don't like the colors and we need something new, something unique. LA is one thing, but New York changing their colors? Highly doubtful. Now, but for those who didn't believe the LA change was happening, a design firm has already been hired and they are looking into more than that. It could be a wholesale rebrand for the fallen angels. Now, for New York, it was Bethlehem Cato with 5 blocks and Rock Weinstein with 9 goals. For LA, it was Keith Ogilvy and Bobby Sheffitz with 9 goals each, and Andy Traynor and Ben Breitbart with 7 blocks each. And for Chicago, it was Georgios Stokidis with 12 goals and Venus Pilar with 11 goals. And in the end of this one, Chicago picks up the 4 points. LA, 2 points. New York, nothing. Let's now move on to Miami, where the Vortex are hosting Phoenix and Detroit. And Detroit goes down. Phoenix wins 36. Miami, 26. Detroit, also 26. Now, Detroit may not have got the result that they were looking for here because they got into a bus crash on the way to the stadium. And if you're a Detroit fan, you shouldn't complain. You could be Atlanta or Salt Lake City right now. So, Mendoza Middleton got yellow carded in this match, and it seemed to set off a whole tinderbox in this one. Now, Fausto Fernandez, who's recovering from a torn bicep, he's about 5 or 6 weeks away from returning. And he almost ensured that he will not be returning this season. Now, Rock player Anastasio Polimu takes down Silas Coffey. The guy tosses his towel onto the court, but it hits the official. The official is already buffing up the black card, but he gets out of his seat and comes out to meet the official, TJ Deladon. Now, Phoenix player Nan Freiling gets out of his chair because he's a scratch as well, so he goes on the court and tries to intercept Fernandez. And Fernandez pushes him to the floor. Freiling gets up. He starts swinging at Fernandez. The official gets between them. He gets ragdolled into the scorekeeper's table. Now, he goes down hard. He's hurt. As a result, Freiling gets black carded and Fernandez also gets the black card, but everybody knows he's going to get way more than that. Now, just wild. And as a result, Deladon did not officiate the rest of the match, and he went to the hospital. Now, in less crazy news, Phoenix player Arnold Morel is gay. That won't stop him from cheating on his spouse, which in recent weeks has become an extremely common event in Delta League. Now, welcome out of the closet and into the torture chamber. Now, for Miami, it was Marquette Weaver with 7 goals. It was Phoenix. It was Curly Barnabani, 10 goals. And for Detroit, it was Isaac Parker Johnson and Mark Dupree with 5 goals each. And in the end of this one, Phoenix picks up the 4 points. Miami, 1 point. Detroit, also 1 point. Let's now move on to Atlanta, where they're hosting Dallas and Toronto. And in this one, Toronto picks up the win. Toronto 25, Atlanta 21, Dallas 18. Now, earlier in the week, Dallas player York Raskin broke his neck at a family picnic while playing flag football. A few guys were wrestling around and he fell on his head, awkwardly. The doctors say that this kind of injury, he will make a recovery, but he will walk again, but he will never play Delta again. This is just another blow to a Dallas team that needs all the help it can get right now. And during the game, there was a horrific injury as Toronto rookie Barb White suffered a compound fracture of her tibia when Atlanta captain Grant Naun sent her careening into the scorekeeper's table. It was pretty horrific. She's done for the year. As a result, Naun gets the black card, and Free Gilliam, the guy who's already set the record for the number of black cards in a single game, gets another one for getting on the court and accosting the official. This guy is going to learn Darcy DeMello mathematics pretty fast if he hasn't already now. In a post-game interview, Toronto player North Malikian said he's playing hurt. I doubt he will gain any sympathy for that. We've got 2 players who broke their neck. We got 6 ACL tears. If he were a Terminator out there, he may have garnered some sympathy. Now, for Atlanta, it was Hedy Finich with 9 blocks. For Dallas, it was Corey Vignali and, Corey Vignali with 5 blocks and Bernie Tully with 9 goals. And for Toronto, it was Dan Kamen and Barb White with 5 blocks each, and Ash Malik with 29. Just kidding. 8 goals. Wow, who's doing the teleprompter? God damn it. And in the end of this one, Toronto picks up the 4 points. Atlanta gets 2 points. Dallas, this team's screwed. Nothing. Now, let's move on now to Philadelphia, where the Shred are hosting Seattle and Denver. And in this one, this is way closer than anybody expected. Seattle 30, Philadelphia 25, Denver 23. Now, Philly player John Holmes Galuccio was a healthy scratch in this game, but he came onto the court to confront Amber Tagliabue when she took out Jermaine Jardetsky in a rather rough play. As a result, she got the yellow card, and he got the black card. Now, then Pirates player Evan Parawal got tangled up with Denver player Poo Poo McCarthy, and they both picked up yellow cards in this match. In addition, Pirates rookie Amber Tagliabue suffered a fractured kneecap on a rough play by Griffin Bricker and Marty Johnstone. He took exception to that. And he took some headshots, and he was shown the door. She'll be gone upwards of 3 weeks. See? Look at Seattle now. It doesn't seem immune to the multitude of problems suffered by other teams. Now, civil strife in Denver has reported that player Samson Sartell was having an affair with Damian Ellis's wife. I thought Sartell was gay. Whoa, wait a second. Samson Sartell was sleeping with Ellis's husband. This whole league is falling apart because players can't keep it in their pants because Philadelphia player Ariel Vignola was found to be having an affair with teammate Cyrus Holleran. The lust in Delta League is simply unbelievable. Now, Philly player Suzuki Sato said on Twitter that he's been playing hurt all year. 0 likes. Now, for Philadelphia, it was Trent Penzavelli with 5 goals. Cyrus Holleran with 5 blocks. For Seattle, it was Evan Parawal and James Korn with 6 goals each. And for Denver, for the first time this year, no one mustered jack shit. And in the end of this one, Seattle still picks up the 4 points. Philadelphia, 2 points. Denver, for the first time this year, nothing. Now, let's move on to the standings. At the top here, Seattle, 28 points. Detroit and Washington, 24 points each. Chicago creeping up there, 22 points. Philadelphia, 20 points. Toronto, 15 points. Phoenix, 14 points. Miami, 13 points. And the playoff line is there, just underneath. Memphis, 12 points. Los Angeles, 11 points. New York and Vancouver, 10 points each. Montreal, 9 points. Dallas, 8 points. Boston, 7 points. Atlanta, 6 points. Salt Lake City, 5 points. Now, let's take a look at the goal leaders. After week 7, up at the top, nobody's surprised, Rob Donoff, Seattle, 65 goals. Laurie Moss, Seattle, 54 goals. Star Palmer, Chicago, 51 goals. James Korn, Seattle, 41 goals. Cameron Baptista, Chicago, 38 goals. Vladimir Malat, Seattle, 37 goals. Amber Tagliabue, Seattle, 35 goals. Alexa Saragossa, Finn Wehrle, Mohamed Carnasale, 36 goals each. Hush Malik, Toronto, 35 goals. And Stefan Greiss, Montreal, 34 goals. Now, on to the block leaders. No one's surprise again. Vlad Malat, Seattle, 49 blocks. Kofi Dominguez, Vancouver, 36 blocks. Harlequin Butcher, Philadelphia, 33 blocks. Emmett Ruin, Jamie Ekstrom, 30 blocks. Romeo DeRosa, Alan Adam, Jimbo Grover, 28 blocks. Then we got Reggie Joag Dev, SLC, 26 blocks. Angel Malloy, Washington, 25 blocks. Mike Brenton, Boston, 24 blocks. And there are 4 players with 22 blocks. Now, let's move on to the league news. The discipline has come down on Miami player Fausto Fernandez, who indiscriminately went after official TJ Deladone, and it's going to cost him 17 games. Good freaking riddance. Now, official Deladone, he spent a few hours in the hospital, but he should be fine. Just bumps, bruises, and some post-traumatic stress that may never subside. Now, also in this incident, Nan Freiling got black carded, but no extra time was added to his suspension. Now, Free Gilliam is the first player to accrue 3 black cards in a single season, and as a result, he's going to learn the essential calculus of disciplinary mathematics. First black card is 1 game. Second black card is 3 games. The third black card is 9 games. It's not 6 like it was last year. As a result, his season is finished. Now, on to the mailbag. What's going on in Delta League that everyone is cheating on their wives and significant others? Matty V. Have you seen the NFL? They're assaulting their wives. I think it's an incredible coincidence that 4 players' relationships self-destructed on the same weekend. And there have been almost 20 players who now have to sign divorce documents. I guess the question you're asking is Delta League so insane that it brings out insanity in everyone? And the answer to your question is yes. The players, the fans, the officials, the scorekeepers, the podcasters, we're all certifiable. Now, let's move on to 24/7 Jello shots. I just heard about the group of New York fans that think that the team should change their colors. What's your view on this? See, there's 2 sides to this issue. The one side is these are the official colors of New York City we're talking about. Changing a logo that is, in my opinion, pretty freaking good. I'm not against adding to the color scheme, like adding white or black to the color scheme, even adding new alternate uniforms that kind of play off the orange and the black or the blue or the blue or the white. I would definitely be in favor of that. But on the other hand, you got teams like the Mets and the Knicks who have those colors already. Why not explore something new? I'm convinced that tradition in this case is much more favorable than ditching the current color scheme and taking the court with something unrecognizable. That's all. My opinion. We all have them. Now, real Piero Barone. This week I had to cut my losses on my Maelstrom bets and went full in on the shred. This week I think they decimate New York. I'm taking plus goals. And in the next few weeks, the prospects of big cash. Now, if you're betting on the shred in the next few weeks, Wagering on them to pick up points is a good bet, but wagering on them to run the table for 4 straight weeks is a little overzealous. Now, in 2 weeks, they have Denver and Miami, then Detroit and Salt Lake City. Yeah, I think they can get 6 points out of those games, but 8? Being a fan means tempering your expectations, lest you fall off the deep end. Now, this guy, I've never had this guy before. Yakety sacks! I think the real team of destiny isn't the Pirates. I think it's the Chicago Pride. The real question is, can the Pride stay out of the Pride's way? Last year, suspensions and injuries took a real competitive team and crashed them, and they burned out of the playoffs. Now, if you look at how this team is constructed, they have the pieces, but do they have the leadership and the internal fortitude to make it happen? Nothing would make me happier to see someone knock off the Pirates, and I hope they can do it, but they have to get there. Now, let's move on to the Shop Zone. We've got the Michael Beaton commemorative t-shirt, the Carmen Thorson tribute shirt. A big seller is the Seattle Pirates 2024 Championship t-shirt. Our Players Commit Adultery t-shirt, the Darcy DeMello Fan Club shirt, and the Till Phillips Fan Club shirt. Get them while supplies last. Now, let's move on lastly to next week's games and predictions for Week 8. First, we'll start out on Monday with Miami hosting LA and Memphis, and LA has had so many things go wrong in the last few weeks that they go from heavy favorite to a game that may be too close to call. Miami came within 1 goal of winning 2 weeks ago, and Memphis has shown signs of life since a horrible start. I think this has all the makings of a very entertaining, close contest. Now, move on to Wednesday when Phoenix is hosting Toronto and Washington. And Washington was uncharacteristically mediocre this week. And Toronto has been unexplainably very, very average this season. Phoenix made the playoffs last year, and this year they've been a hair worse than Miami. Now, I'm taking DC to rebound and Toronto to take the 2 points and do what they always do, which is just enough to stick around above the playoff line. Now, off to Saturday matinee's game with Vancouver versus Dallas and Montreal. And when they first drew up this schedule, people were probably salivating at the prospect of Vancouver and Montreal battling each other for a playoff spot. Little did they know that these two teams would be battling each other for 14th place. And with the state of Dallas, I think Montreal is going to walk out of Vancouver with their 3rd win in 4 weeks. Now, off to Detroit, where they're going to be hosting Denver and Boston. And Detroit kind of showed their colors this week. And they went up against stiff competition that was, how do they say, stiffer than a wet noodle. Now, Denver is going to walk all over both these teams, and Detroit will pick up 2 points of scraps. Now, off to Atlanta, who's hosting Seattle and Chicago. And, I mean, for the first time in 2 years, Seattle looks vulnerable. And though they're still a certifiable wrecking machine, this week they go against a Chicago team that is clicking on all its cylinders and healthy. I'm taking Chicago to upset the Pirates and Atlanta to watch it happen. Now, let's move on next and lastly to Salt Lake City, who is hosting New York and Philadelphia. And New York has gone down in a few close matchups in the last few weeks, and they left with absolutely nothing. Now, they will still have enough weapons to make Philly's day extremely miserable, but the betting man would take the streak to continue and for Philly to leave Salt Lake City with 4 points. But something tells me there's a rebound coming for the Fire Demons, and this game will be too close to call on the top end. That's it for this week in the Delta League podcast. Join us next week when the action continues and never stops. See ya.
This is Delta 2.